Hey everyone, it's Adrienne here, the Integrative Awareness Coach. How you doing? I wanted to stop by today and share a couple of reflections on the pilot course I've just been leading. We just finished today. It was the pilot or beta course of the power of self-awareness, find your freedom. And it is always amazing to me when I am sharing the work that I do and the space that it makes for life to show up. And I want to give you an example. So, a lot of times in life, we get triggered by outside situations, events that happen, and it's easy for us to blame others and criticize them and think somehow that we're at effect of the conditions and causes around our life. And that is what's determining our choices. But when you begin to build the container of your own consciousness intentionally, like anything, it takes time to build that muscle. But when you do the work, it pays off, literally. And this is what I mean. So I was sharing an example, a personal example, and I like to use real life examples because that's where life's happening, right? So I was sharing with my students today about how um, we get stopped, how people get stopped in life. We hit an obstacle, we hit a challenge. It might be repetitive. We may have seen this before. Looks familiar, maybe a different face, a different place, but the same dynamics are there. And so I have had a situation recently where I had an interaction with someone and I felt really annoyed. And, I could have left it at that and then skipped over it and, you know, said something to myself like, well, people, what do you expect from them, and minimized it or just glided over the whole thing. But because I do the work that I do, I hold myself accountable. And so it took me a day or two, but I got to it. And I took a moment to put my hand on my heart and to close my eyes and to check in and to sink into that annoyance because all emotions are messengers from our nervous system. It's information that's trying to share something with us. And so instead of stepping over it and ignoring it or minimizing it or dismissing it, I sat with it and I had a conversation with it. And I said, what is this annoyance? Where do you come from? What do you have for me? What gifts do you have to bear? And as I sunk down, this is not a mental exercise, but a full embodied experience of life, an embodied somatic experience, including all levels of awareness. And so I inquired, and then I waited for the answer to arise. And I found that under the annoyance was some hurt and some disappointment. And then under that, fear. And I was kind of surprised because on the surface, annoyance doesn't look like fear. Like, what what was I afraid of? And so as I teach this to my students, to check in and to take a moment to reflect about the first time I felt something similar, that annoyance, that anger, that was really hurt and disappointment, and under that, even fear. And so I traveled back in time and I saw myself, was with my mom and we were cooking in the kitchen. And I had asked her, I believe I had asked her if I could help her cook, and she said yes. And so I showed up, and I was ready to contribute my contribution to the meal. But she didn't really mean that I could help. She meant that I could help like she wanted me to. And I had to sit with that little version of myself, that little girl version who had an incredible gift that she wanted to share. She wanted to give something freely from her heart to her mother because she loved her mother so much. And her mother wasn't able to receive it. And I began to observe the situation not only from my little self as a little girl, but I was also able to observe it from my mother's perspective and inquire through an energetic connection. Why wasn't she able to receive what I wanted to give? She said, yes, you can help me cook, but not like that. And so there was no true gift. I was not able to freely give of my heart at that moment. And she was not able to receive the gift of my heart. And I noticed her and I observed her and I saw that she was not present. And she was not present because she was micromanaging me. And I asked her higher self, why were you micromanaging your 5-year-old daughter? And I got a clear picture she was afraid. So what could she be afraid of her little girl, 5-year-old little girl, trying to help her cook? What could she on earth be afraid of? And then I saw, oh, she was worried that she wasn't a good mother. And I went deeper and I said, what do you mean you're not a good mother? I asked deeper and she said, really what was under that is I'm not worthy. And because that was the driving belief in her subconscious mind, I'm not worthy, she had to prove that she was worthy by being a good mother. And that required micromanaging. It didn't require being present to her daughter. And I saw it at that moment. I had downloaded that level of fear from my mother and had internalized it, and it became mine. And it was a mirror image I received from her. The reason why she could not receive my gift of love and what I wanted to give her in the kitchen as my contribution from my heart was because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy. And so through this practice that I shared, one is able to begin to see how these generational belief systems stored in our ego consciousness that is based in duality gets caught up in the trance of a false premise. Because as I began to see her perspective and my perspective, the real truth is there's nothing you can do to ever prove that you're worthy. There's never enough that you can do to prove that you're worthy, because that's not where worth comes from. My worth, her worth, everyone's worth is a product of our humanity. And that's why it's never satisfied, because it's something that's unprovable. Doesn't matter how much you do, how much you give. It's always from that false premise of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. And this, of course, is not true. And yet, she's lived most of her life in that. And I inherited that belief, and I've lived a great deal of my life in that unconsciously. And this shift in awareness from a struggle in a false reality based on something that's a lie, but the ego can't distinguish it because it does not have the full spectrum of awareness that's available. And so, well, this story could be about my mother and her poor sweet little daughter, right? Who was trying to give a gift to her mother and her mother couldn't receive it. This is everyone's story. It's not just mine. On one level or the next, this has occurred to all of us on many different levels. And this course that I'm sharing, that starts July the 15th, called The Power of Self-Awareness, Finding Your Freedom. This is the level of work that we're doing, clearing out lifetimes of false agreements, false contracts, false beliefs. It's a reconciliation of accounts. That situation that happened when I was 5 or 6 was impressed upon my consciousness. It was in my nervous system, and it created my reality to a certain degree. And when I was able to clear that today through the processes I'm sharing with my students, I paid my account. Our consciousness is an energetic economy. And if we don't pay our account in the moment that it happens, then we keep paying over and over and over again. This is karma, also known as sin, defined as missing the mark. Really, it's a disconnection from the truth of who you are and who I am. And this is an incredible opportunity, a practice to create space for the true authentic version of you to show up without these restrictive, inherited, conditioned beliefs and timelines that may have kept you in a small version of the life force that is you. And so I hope you can join me. It starts July the 15th. It's going to be for 3 consecutive Thursdays. I tried to price it as reasonably as possible, considering all the amazing tools and content that you're going to be receiving and the priceless technology that you will be able to take with you. And early bird registration is still available until July 8th. And I just invite you to join us. This is my legacy. This is my life work. And I am committed to creating a world where people can show up authentically to share their gifts and their talents in the world that they brought with them to this planet to be fully lived into and fully expressed without having to make excuses or hide or negotiate or have to choose between this and that. Because the truth is there is no this and that. This or that, I should say. There is this and that. I can have both, depending on how I'm viewing the world and how I'm viewing myself as a powerful creator in the world. So if you stop by, say hi, leave an emoji, let me know you were here. If you have any questions about the course, I'm going to put the link in the description box. Please click on it. There's lots of information. You can also reach out to me through any of my social media accounts if you'd like some more information and you want to know if this is right for you. I don't know who it's not right for, to be honest. I'm excited about it. It's some powerful work, and I'm really looking forward to just sharing it with you if you're longing to receive it. All right. Thank you so much for stopping by. Until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are, and bye for now.